So let's think for a moment about the different ways that you can bring pickpocketing into your current performance. Now, obviously, you could portray yourself as just a pure pickpocket, and there are a number of performers out there that do just that. That it's standalone pickpocketing. There's no bits of business that are going with it, and that is entirely a plausible way for you to go. But I know that the majority of you watching this will be within the world of entertainment already, whether you be a magician specific to a close-up, or a stage magician, or a mentalist in particularly interested in mentalism, or a hypnotist as well. And actually, I believe that there's a real natural blend with these arts. The magic one is more obvious and straightforward than the others on the surface. The magician can make things vanish and reappear. So it stands to reason that, if I'm vanishing an object, it gives me a good excuse to suggest that it's appeared on you, or even to show that it's appeared on you. For example, vanishing the coin, reaching to the inside jacket pocket, going in and removing the coin, and as they follow the attention, taking the phone or the wallet out of the pocket undercover. That makes perfect sense. The link is there. And then, how you reveal the stolen item can again either be from the classic form of, I'm a pickpocket, here's all the stuff I've stolen during the interaction, or you could have another way of revealing the item. For example, I've got really excited with cups and balls recently, and I love the idea of one of the final loads being something that I've taken. So I used to do this with a simple impromptu 1 cup style routine, which would be a borrowed item, a banknote which they'd signed, screw it into a ball, put it under the cup, it appears, it disappears. Maybe the lime appears, and inside the lime is the money. Classic stuff so far. And at the end of that reveal, going back to the cup and saying, oh, one more thing, lifting the cup up, and underneath would be their watch. Now, this becomes a magic effect, not a pickpocket effect. Although the methodology is clearly a pickpocket moment at some point during the routine, the moment of reveal is a much more magical effect. We've set up this premise of magically the ball appears under the cup, then a lime appears under the cup, then their money appears inside the lime. Now finally their watch appears under the cup. It's got a magic feel to it rather than a theft feel to it. Equally so, I played around with lots of other ideas of having an item, removing an item from their pocket and putting it onto somebody else's, loading somebody else's pocket. And then, a simple idea of I'd steal a wallet from him, I'd put it in his pocket, and during the course of what I do, we may have a mind-reading moment of some information going from the mind of one person to another, a drawing duplication, for example, and then sort of almost upping the game and saying to them, look, if we can do this with simply a thought, let's do this with something more physical. Do you have a wallet on you? Yes. Okay. Don't tell me where it is. I just want you to imagine it now. We're just going to move it from here to here. And it sounds contrived, but actually in the context of this routine, it made perfect sense. And the moment that the guy reached into his pocket and took out the other guy's wallet, I mean, that was incredible. I mean, I'd teleported something of value from one person and made it appear on somebody else. And weirdly, when I was doing this in that sense, in that guise of performance, people's first thought wasn't, oh, you stole it and put it back, even though rationally and logically that may well be the answer. But as you and I both know, when it comes to the performance of magic, some people are very rational and logical, and they see things as a puzzle to be worked out. But thankfully for us, and it's why we continue to exist and earn a living, the vast majority of the population responds to magic in the same way, which is, is proper amazement and awe. So there is no connect in their mind between the reality of me picking somebody's pocket and loading to what they experience of the transportation of something from one place to another. Transposition of objects, or the teleportation of an object. So there are some great uses of that. Another way to think about performing this, a lovely effect that I do, which I've had a lot of fun with, since the dawn of Siri on the iPhones, and that is what I've called the Siri hack. And lots of other people have worked on this. This isn't, I'm not claiming that I've invented this or I found it. I came across it at some point, and I've spoken to lots of other people who've worked on this idea. Notably, my friend in America, Joe Brogy, who's got some devilishly clever ideas with this little technique. But it's the idea of most iPhones have this set up, and you'd have to disable the function yourself, and most people don't do this. If you press and hold the home button on an iPhone while the lock screen is engaged, it will bring Siri up. And you can now ask Siri to do a range of things, whether that be post to Twitter or Facebook as an update, send somebody a text message, even to phone somebody, even to get the dial, get somebody to be rung from the phone. I realised grammatically that went horribly wrong there, but I'm sure you understand what I meant. Now imagine this, something very simple. I'm able to lift your phone out of your pocket without you knowing, out of maybe a jacket pocket, press and hold, Siri comes up, and I say, Facebook update, I've just chosen the 4 of hearts. Put it back into their jacket pocket, and a few moments later, approach them with a pack of cards to do some magic. Any card you like, free choice, take one out, force. They take out a card, remember what it is, place it back in the pack, and I say, I want you to imagine that you've just gone on Facebook and updated your status, and then they go and look at it, and that's exactly what happened, even before, if they check the timeline, I seemingly came along. And actually, there's so many layers to that people cannot put it together, and it is incredible for them. The closest somebody has got to it was thinking that somehow one of their friends who knew their password to Facebook had given me access, and I'd uploaded the information somehow. But none of that really made sense to them as they were saying it, and at the end they were just happy to go, it's magic, I don't get it, what a great effect. But similarly, I've done this where press and hold, text mum. I work on the assumption that the vast majority of people, when they input the name of their mum into their phone, put down mum or dad. Very rarely will people put the person's full name. Now and again it doesn't work, but hey, I just do a different trick, it doesn't matter. Take the phone, press and hold Siri, text mum, and then I just send, I verbally say, hey mum, could you call me in 5 minutes time, and just tell me that I'm thinking of the 4 of clubs, or the number 475, or Paris, or whatever information I want her to say. Then hang up. Don't worry, I'll explain later. Send. And then I go up to that person 3 minutes later, begin the routine, have them imagine something, find something or whatever, and in the middle of it, their phone rings. And they take their phone out and say, oh, it's my mum. I say, it's okay, that's fine. They answer the phone, and in that moment, their mum just says, you're thinking of the 4 of hearts, and hangs up. Mind-blowing, absolutely freaky. Now think about this. What happens next? After the moment has passed, after I've left the group, they then do the obvious thing. They phone mum back and say, how did you know? And mum says, you text me. And now they've got to work out, how did, they check their phone, they go, I did text. But I had the phone. None of it makes sense. Now, that's just the beginning of an idea. I'm not going to tell you anything more about the Siri hack. It's really up to you now to develop new ways and new ideas of using it. I've got some good friends. I said Joe Brogy's one of them, who've come up with some really quite astonishingly clever ways of using it. And I'm sure that you can come up with some ways as well. But that's just another way that you can utilize the skill of pickpocketing in a slightly different way, in a less obvious way than taking and revealing. Equally so, if you're a mentalist, think about the benefits of just gleaning information. If I have the opportunity to secretly look inside your wallet, and in your wallet I've obviously not just got things that are obvious like credit card numbers and details of that nature, Maybe if you have a driving license, there's details of the driving license I could memorize. Even if my memory's not good, all I need is my phone, the ability to steal your wallet, take a few pictures, and then be able to put it back again. If you can take something out, you can put it back. All of the same rules of attention management and misdirection apply here. Okay, but if I can get that information, take a picture or memorize something and put it back, I can then bring that information back to you further down the line. And this is the interesting thing. People don't connect the dots in the way that maybe you do, maybe I do, because of the world that we live in. If you are doing a pickpocket routine, a standalone pickpocket routine, here's a coin, I'm going to vanish it, it reappears, and I've stolen this and I've handed it back. In the process of doing that, if you've lifted a wallet and behind the back, before you reveal it to the audience and even before you hand it back to them, you open it, just lift up one of the credit cards and just memorize the last 4 numbers or the middle 8 numbers, or even all 16 if you've got a good enough memory. Then I hand the wallet back in the context of all the other things that are being given back and flowing. And then maybe half an hour later at the gig, I come back to you and your group of friends doing something else, not pickpocketing anymore. Now I'm doing the mentalism stuff, write down the name of a city and tear it up and burn it, and I'm able to tell you what you're thinking of. Now I'm able to present back to you the information that I looked at earlier. And your mind does not connect the dots back to the pickpocket routine I did 20 minutes ago. You might be thinking, oh, well, people aren't that stupid. Well, I'm sorry, they are. I know, because I've been doing this for a decade, and I know lots of other people who've been doing similar things. People don't connect the dots. I've got a great friend, David Carey, who is a fairly unknown magician, but he's, in my opinion, one of the greatest card handlers of this generation. He's not a young man anymore, and he sort of really does hide away from the, from the magic scene. But I remember him totally fooling me, even with the knowledge that I had, with a simple idea many years ago, which was, in a group of friends sat round at a bar, he just looked at me and said, "Oh, James, name a card." And as I was just saying, the 4 of hearts, just as the words were coming out of my mouth, he just turned away and got engaged with some other conversation. He sort of suddenly, "Oh, sorry, what did you say?" And he chatted to somebody else. And I just, it was one of those moments where I thought, oh, okay, fair enough, and carried on my drink and carried on my other conversations. 20, 30 minutes later, in the context of some other thing going on, he took out a playing card, put it down on the table, and he said, "James, name a card." And without thinking about it, I said the same one, the 4 of hearts. And he turned it over. And I was absolutely blown away by it. I just thought, this is incredible. And it never dawned on me that I'd actually already told him the answer, because our brains don't work in that linear fashion. We don't connect the dots in that way. So as long as you've had some time misdirection, as long as there's other things going on as well, you can lift a wallet openly in a pickpocket environment, gain some information, hand it back to them. Half an hour later, as long as you've changed the context and we're now moving into maybe mind reading or something else, feed the information back without them being able to backtrack to that moment. But it's not just obvious things like a credit card. If I open your wallet up and I get a glimpse at a photograph that you have of your wife and your kids, if we've never met before, that little moment of me seeing that tells me a lot about you, potentially. If I've got maybe a background in mentalism, if I know some stuff about cold reading, this picture on its own is enough for me to feed back a lot of information to you. Maybe the picture is where you went on holiday. Maybe it's you stood outside Disneyland with your family. That information alone, if fed back to you in the right way, is mind-blowing. It's mind reading at its best. And the method was simply that I stole it off somebody. So when we think about pickpocketing, when you're looking at this as an art form, don't make the mistake of just tunnel visioning yourself into thinking, well, all I can do with this is steal things and hand it back. That's one thing that you can do with it. Don't underestimate how amazingly entertaining that can be if done with the right attitude and the sort of, the right approach, and being kind and gentle and not being an arse. Yeah. But also there are other elements and aspects of how you could use that. If you're a hypnotist, think about how you can utilize your skills as a hypnotist with the way that you can get people to focus their attention, when you can change the physiology of people's bodies and make them feel things in a different way. You imagine this. Mixing pickpocketing with hypnosis. I can steal your watch, put it back on my wrist, and then give you the suggestion that you are still wearing your own watch. To the extent where I did this at a dinner party once, a little bit of post-hypnotic suggestion was used. I'd already hypnotized the person before, so I knew that they were a good responsive subject. But without hypnosis, I stole their watch doing a bit of magic. I now went around to the other side of the table, sat down, and we continued eating our meal. This was a social environment. About halfway through the meal, I said to the person, "Oh, put your hands under the table, and I want you to place your hand over your watch." Now, you can still feel your watch, can't you? And this was the suggestion element. And he just went, "Yes." So now he's convinced he's still got his watch on his wrist. All the other people around the table are still convinced that he's got his watch on his wrist, but it's already on mine, which now meant that I was able to create the most mind-numbing piece of magic to get his watch to vanish from his wrist and appear on mine. In the moment when it happened, he brought his hands up above the table, still covering what he believed to be his watch, and in the moment of the vanish, he went, "Ah!" Looked across at me, and now everybody's looking at me, and I've now got the watch on my wrist. And everybody just freaked out. Total meltdown. Now that was achieved by my willingness to blend together different art forms. I'm not suggesting you do that routine itself. There are a number of people that have done it. I know that Marcus Lewis, for some of you know Marcus as a great hypnotist, part of the head hacking group. I know Marcus has done either that routine exactly or something incredibly similar to great effect. So it is very possible, as long as you're willing to put together these various art forms. So when you're thinking about pickpocketing, don't limit yourself to just stealing and returning. This art will give you so many more skills about attention management, about confidence, about your ability to move and interact with people. And it will also make you look really cool as you hand back all the stuff you've stolen.
All right, wait, with that, just do the reading stuff and add a little routine of, write down on a CD, put on the, write that, on that my favorite poem.
What?
That I am able to steal from.
Yeah.
A little bonus for you.
Oh, a little.
I'm a man.
Oh, a little bonus for you. It's a routine that was on. I think it was on my Professional Opportunist DVD set, which went completely unnoticed by everyone, which I was totally delighted about, because I love the fact that nobody else did it but me. But I'd like to share it with you now because it fits in perfectly. So the routine itself just allows for a great bit of mind reading, of mentalism. But it's really cheeky because the concept is mentalism, the misdirection is hypnosis, and the method is pickpocketing. And it works like this. Right, so this is a stage environment I tended to do this in. I'd ask somebody in the audience at the beginning, I'd give them a blank card, a business card or something similar, or just even a piece of paper, it didn't really matter. And I would ask them to think of some information, a name maybe, or a word, or a shape, or draw a picture. It didn't really matter what it was. And I'd get them to do this, make sure nobody else could see, very discreetly, and I would say, when you're done, just pop it into your pocket. And then I would ignore them. Later on in the routine, it was usually at the end of the first half of the show, the final thing I did before the break, as if I'd kind of, one more thing I nearly forgot. Sir, at the beginning I asked you to think of something, and notice I'm changing it now from being written down to being thought of. I asked you to think of something. Please, a round of applause as he comes up on stage. As he came up on stage and I went to shake his hand, I would do that sort of induction thing, you know, the hand-to-face style induction. Now I'm a hypnotist, so it worked more often than it didn't, but I didn't care. All I needed was their compliance to actually close their eyes and kind of relax that little moment, you know, sleep, close your eyes, relax down. In this moment, because I had asked him earlier when I'd said, write it down and put it in your pocket, I told him by showing him, place it inside your pocket, I knew it was going to be in his right side jacket pocket. And to verify that, I'd watched him do it. Yeah, and if for any reason he went to put it in another pocket, I would very blatantly say, no, put it inside your pocket, thank you. Because people would forget that later. It's only happened twice, though, in memory, that I've had to tell somebody to put it in the pocket. Just the gesture was enough. So as they've come up, I've shaken their hand, I've done this induction moment. By the angle of where the audience is looking, their body and my body is blocking this. This hand just went into the pocket, lifted the piece of paper out, I read it, I put it back. All done in the same time as the hand came up to the head and I brought them into my shoulder, sleep deeper and deeper. And then I moved away and left them in this kind of classic, relaxed, hypnotic state on the stage. And now I was able to move away and then just go into a normal mentalism style routine as you would perform it in any other way, you know, however you do it. You know, I want you to nod your head when you can imagine that word, that picture, right at the front of your head, right where you're touching it. Nod your head, yes, yes, yes. Okay, and just slowly bring your hand away, and I want you to look at your hand and see that image, see that word, yes, yes, yes. And then I just want you to just gently blow that word to me. And they would do it, and I would sort of have that epiphany moment, and I'd say, yes, I'm getting something through, and you're thinking of a church with a little fence and some clouds, and they would be like, yeah, how the hell did you know? And the audience would see that for what it was, pure mind reading. And what was beautiful is the only times I have ever had people come up to me with a method, the method that they always went for was something to do with the hypnosis. Nobody ever suspected that the reality was, I just read it. A little fun idea for you. I would be delighted, by the way, if any of you watching this actually went and did that and contacted me, write me an email, hit me up on Facebook and let me know how it goes, because I would love to find that other people were doing that too. Maybe it's just me, but the idea of a routine around mentalism where the misdirection is hypnosis and the method is pickpocketing, and bring all of those three things together into one little routine, I don't know, it just makes me tingle, and I hope it makes you tingle too.